Today we're going to compare all CEO offices in GTA 5 and determine which is the best one to buy. I know it's 2024, so CEO offices aren't anything new for us, but since we currently have 30% off on office properties, upgrades, and modifications, I figured this would be the perfect time to revisit this and give some more insight to those that either haven't purchased one or are thinking about moving to another location. There will be many factors that come into play, so I'm going to try and keep this as short as I can while also giving as much information as possible. I just want to preface with this so it's clear before we start. Every office has the same exact layout inside, which is important to note. While you can change the interior styles, there are no different or better interiors whether you purchase the cheapest or most expensive office, but there are definitely some other differences that'll become apparent shortly. Also, I won't be detailing the garage add-ons since each property has the same price and style options, much like the office interiors. However, I will say this, I am aware that if you include garage views in your decision, Lombank West, and more so Lombank Tower, will take a step up in the view hierarchy. So make sure to think about that if that's something you plan on doing. With that said, let's get into it. We're going to start with the most expensive and probably the most well-known, and that's Lombank Tower. Coming in at $4 million, but currently $2.8 million with this week's discount, this office is one of the easiest ways to show people you have money to blow. And if you're wondering, yes, this is the tallest building in the game. You can see just about every part of Los Santos from the helipad on the roof, which might as well be in the clouds. What are some of the advantages of having this office? For starters, since your office is higher up, you're able to overlook the surrounding area and see farther than the other properties. Also, your helipad is much higher than anyone else's, which lessens the likelihood of you being shot down when coming or going. But most important is that the building is downtown near the center of the city, meaning wherever your crate collecting missions take you, it shouldn't be a super long trip. You'll also notice that it's central to all warehouse locations. Now some disadvantages. First, the view from your office isn't all you might imagine, since you're mostly overlooking other buildings downtown, but it's certainly not the worst of the bunch. Second, the helipad being so high up makes it more work than others, especially if you're flying a somewhat damaged vehicle. Plus, getting to the helipad after exiting to the roof is a slightly longer trip than others, but you can work around this if you own an oppressor, or you can just exit to the ground and call whatever you parked on the roof down to the ground because the helipad is high enough that it won't say your vehicle is already nearby. Third, the building is located near a 2-level street, which sometimes affects where your personal vehicle spawns, so it may be a slightly longer trip to get to your vehicle on the ground. Lastly, the building entrance at the base of the tower is not the easiest to get to, which can get annoying. So while Lombank Tower certainly has its drawbacks, obviously owning the biggest building in the game comes with a level of superiority, and I mean look at this. It really stands out on the downtown skyline at night with its green lights. It's as if the building is telling everyone, yes, this place is made out of money. Next up, we have Lombank West. This is the farthest west of any of the CEO properties, but not by much. Normally over $3 million, but currently just under $2.2 million, this is the second priciest office. If you look online, you'll find that this is one of the more liked buildings. I'd imagine you're wondering why this office, which is the furthest away from most warehouse locations and not as well centered, is so expensive. Well, for a few reasons, but the first being that if views are something you care about, this is the place by a long shot. From your office window, you have a spectacular view of Del Perro, including the pier, coastline, and even your yacht if you anchor it nearby. It also has advantages with the helipad being lower, meaning easier access to come and go, more room on the roof to park your vehicle if you're in a public lobby, as well as direct access to the helipad from the office, while other buildings have more stairs and obstacles. Although this isn't as important if you're using an oppressor since you can just park it next to the door, but if you're using a helicopter or a plane, this is certainly still relevant. Also, there are a couple of apartment options very close by, making it easy to access when logging on. This way, the accommodation option isn't necessary. The Del Perro apartments are actually right next to the Lombank building. Now, there are some disadvantages, like its location, but it's truly not so far off that it's a serious problem, and there are plenty of crate resupply missions that begin close by. Also, it's been said that if you call a helicopter or other flying vehicles from the ground, sometimes they'll spawn under a tree or in a difficult position to maneuver. Finally, some players have the minor issue of their car spawn location being further away than some other offices, but it's not as bad as Lombank Tower. Overall, this is a really good option if you can bear the expense because the views and the area it resides are unmatched. Now we're going to take a look at the Arcadius Business Center. This CEO property is located very close to Lombank Tower, making it the second of the downtown offices. This building would usually run you around $2.3 million, but right now you can get it for just under $1.6, making this the second cheapest CEO office of the four. Similar to Lombank, if you do a quick Google search, you'll find this is also a popular option among players. I don't think it takes a genius to realize why this one is so popular, just take a look at the building. Whether it's day or night, this place really stands out. And as I mentioned before, it's not only located downtown, making it central to warehouses and resupply missions, but it's also affordable compared to the last two. It also probably has the best parking situation of all of the offices, being that it has an underground parking garage that acts as both protection and another cool aspect of the building. FYI, there is also a security guard down there to greet you. Then there's the added benefit of it being a nearly perfect height to snipe people on the ground if that's something that interests you. So what's the problem? Well, like all of these options, there are both pros and cons. One con is that when you go to the roof from inside of your office, it has the longest walk to get to the helipad, which can become a bit of a nuisance, but if you own an oppressor, you can negate this issue by parking closer to the door, or you can simply exit to the ground and call your helicopter or flying vehicle, since much like Maze Bank Tower, the roof is high enough that it won't say your vehicle is nearby. Another issue is that it's the second tallest of the group, meaning you'll have to climb a bit higher to land on the roof, but it's obviously not as bad as Maze Bank Tower. Although it's not so high up that you can't get shot down, but only one building can claim that benefit, so it's not fair to hold that against Arcadius. Probably the biggest issue with this property is the view. You won't get the same feeling looking out the office window here as you will at Lombank, but then again, Lombank is one of a kind as far as views strictly from the office. Overall, it's easy to see why the Arcadius Business Center is one of the more popular CEO properties. And finally, we come to Lombank West. Located just 2 buildings over from Lombank, this is the cheapest of all CEO offices, coming in at just $1 million to purchase, but currently sitting at a beyond reasonable $700,000 with this week's discount. This might be the most owned property of the bunch. That becomes apparent when you're in a public lobby and you see how many other people and vehicles are coming in and out of there, especially when we have weekly bonuses that apply to the business. It being potentially the most owned office building can also be attributed to many players being given it for free as part of a GTA Online premium starter pack. Have you heard the expression, you get what you pay for? Of course you have, and that perfectly sums up Lombank West. It doesn't have a great office view, it's the smallest of all the buildings, although it being lower to the ground can be considered both a pro and a con. It doesn't have the best helipad access, but it also doesn't have the worst. It doesn't have the best ground parking situation, however you'll never have to go far when calling in a vehicle. And while it's not centrally located, it's not so far off from the action that it's a real issue, similar to Lombank. Also similar to Lombank, it's directly across the street from the Del Perro apartments, so if you're looking for a nice apartment office combo for a great value, you have it right here. Essentially, it's not the best at anything other than price, but it's not the worst at everything either. I look at it like this: if you were able to get this property for free or at a great discount, and all you care about is making money, this is the best option. If you care for the views, the architecture, the size of the building, the exterior landscaping, the location, and pretty much anything else, this isn't the place for you. Okay, so now that we've gone through each CEO property individually, I want to quickly show you each interior option so you have an idea of what each will look like before you decide to buy. I would recommend not purchasing any interior styles until after you've gone inside of your office because you can preview them all from there. Also, I'd 100% recommend not purchasing the wall safe because it's entirely cosmetic. As for the gun locker, if that's something that you need or don't already have in other places you own, then you absolutely can, but I don't feel that it's necessary. As for the accommodation, that is completely up to you, although if you own an apartment nearby, it's certainly not a must. Inside of your office, note that there are 3 categories of interiors: Old Spice, Executive, and Power Broker, each with its own subset of 3 styles. You'll notice that each of the categories gives a unique look to not only the office, but also to your assistant. I'll walk you through each of them now and let you be the judge. Well, that about covers it. We took a detailed look at each CEO property, went over their pros and cons, and checked out each interior style. As for which of these is the best, for my money, it's a toss-up between Arcadius Business Center and Lombank West. At this point, the decision is up to you, and the only real question is what matters to you most. Is it value? Is it views? Is it location? Something else? There's no wrong answer as long as you get what you want out of it. Hopefully this video gave you some insight into each property and will help you better decide which CEO office is the best to buy in 2024 in GTA Online. As always, thanks for watching, take care, and I'll see you on the next one. Skull.